Well, supporters of former President Trump shared their anger outside of his Mar-a-Lago home following the unprecedented search by the FBI. Dozens of protesters arrived following the hours-long search. We want to bring in senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge now, who is at FBI headquarters in Washington to talk a little bit more about what this search entailed. Catherine, good morning. When could we get more details about this search, if ever?
That's an excellent question. It is not unusual in federal investigations for a search warrant and the affidavit that supports the warrant or the execution of the warrant to be sealed by the court for some period of time. So the short answer is that we may not know right away. I think what's important here is that it takes all of these approvals, and it's highly unusual. I can't emphasize that enough. Typically, there's a request for the records, they're sought, and they're handed over. The fact that they executed the warrant tells you that they had deep concern about these records, but even more specifically, they had a high level of confidence based on their investigation that there was something at Mar-a-Lago that was extremely important, and they had high confidence that if they executed the warrant, that they would be able to obtain it, Anne-Marie.
Now, you know, a lot of people are going to be waking up this morning. They're going to see the headline that there was a raid on the former president's house, and they're going to think it's associated with the January 6th committee's investigation, which it is not. Is about these records that should have remained in the custody of the White House. That being said, could this have an impact on the January 6th committee's investigation? If the FBI agents walk in there with a warrant and they see something else that's interesting, I mean, could they gather that as well?
I think the key thing here, Anne-Marie, is that we know through our reporting here at CBS News that it's about missing White House records. Missing White House records really can cover a broad spectrum of documents. It could be records that they deem to be classified in terms of their content. They could be records that are relevant to the January 6th investigation. But the bottom line is that they're records that should have been left at the White House by the president when he left in January of 21. I can't emphasize also enough how strict the laws are on these records retention. And this issue has been in the pipeline really since about January and February this year, when the National Archives, so that's like the giant repository for federal records, said, we think we have a problem. Some records returned, were ripped up, taped together, but we also looked at boxes and there was classified information there. In the back of my mind, because I've worked a lot on classified information in the past and presidential records, I wonder whether it took something more than just classified information to precipitate this raid. It just seems like they had, I said this before, it seems like they had very good intelligence or evidence about something being at that Florida residence that they deemed so important and even in some ways perishable that they would take that extraordinary step to execute a search warrant at a former president's home.
Yeah, I thought to myself, who knew what was there? So who's cooperating with the FBI? I also thought you said it would take a high level approval to do this, but it's also sort of Department of Justice policy during an election year not to launch this sort of a public investigation with somebody who's hinted very strongly they could run for president. And then when you said in the pipeline, I thought of a pun when I saw those pictures of the ripped up notes in the toilet, but we're not going to go there because it's too early for that kind of humor. Too soon. Catherine, thank you very much.
You're welcome.